Legendary television pioneer and first host of The Tonight Show, Steve Allen is often credited with coining the phrase tragedy plus time equals comedy. Our next guest this morning is living proof of that statement, so much so that he's made it the title of his first book. I'd like to welcome Denver native and one of America's hottest comics right now to the show, Cayton Holland. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me this morning.
First off, your book. I found highs, I found lows.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, the story, it's about your sister Lydia's suicide in 2012. Was this book your final act of healing? Was it cathartic for you?
It was very cathartic for me, but to say final act would be a mistake, I believe. I mean, the one thing I sort of said with this book is that there's no clean catharsis. It's never like, and I'm healed. It's just a lifetime of reconciling this and trying to figure it out. So this book is where I'm at currently. Yeah. She
was instrumental in your life, and you have a passage in the book where it starts, I had 26 years of Lydia as normal. What was normal?
Normal in my family was fantastic. I refer to my family in this book as the magnificent Cayton Hollands. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek, but I also really feel that way. It was, you know, soccer practice and figure skating and piano recitals, and my dad's a civil rights attorney and my mom's was an investigative journalist, so it's a lot of asking questions and taking stock of all the injustice in the world and doing something about it. So we were, you know, sensitive, clever, thoughtful, active children.
And you know, your book is like that too. When I was sitting down and I was reading the book and I was thinking, okay, how am I going to talk to him and how am I going to handle this? Because it's sad. You know, she committed suicide.
I do know.
But at the same time, you have humor in the book too.
Sure, yeah.
How are you able to balance the two, and why did you do that?
That's who I am, and I think that's how most people are.
Yeah.
I think to think that life is just sad or funny is kind of two-dimensional. They're both interwoven. I was talking to someone recently, you know, think about the last time you cried and like really cried, just had a sob. Immediately afterwards, you laugh. Whether you're embarrassed at yourself or what, you're just like, whew, I don't know what that was about, and you kind of laugh at yourself. And I don't know, they're right there. Those emotions are the exact same for me, and I think for a lot of people.
Yeah, and the first thing I said to you when I sat down today was, I bet this book was not only healing for you, but it was also healing for a lot of people who have experienced maybe the same tragedy in their life.
Yeah, this book was born of several articles that I published, and many people have reached out to me in the wake of those articles. It's amazing how many people suffer from mental illness or know someone who suffered from mental illness, and it's still kind of there's a stigma around it. So hopefully this book breaks that down a little bit.
You talk about, and this is something I learned by reading your book, another tool that helped you through the trauma of her death. It's called, let me see if I can say it right, desensitization? Say it for it.
Desensitization.
Desensitization and reprocessing therapy. It's called EMDR.
Yeah, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It's a form of therapy that's pretty aggressive for people suffering from PTSD, and it simulates REM, rapid eye movement. So literally you have electronic pulsers in your hand, and they tick-tock back and forth, and you close your eyes, and you go through the traumatic memory. And the therapist that I went to sort of likened it to, it's become an errant file, that memory, in your brain, and it keeps coming up in the form of flashbacks or nightmares. And so this is a way of processing that file, filing it away in an orderly fashion, there to access should you need it, but not coming up inappropriately. And I had to do that.
It helped?
It helped tremendously. I'm a big believer in EMDR. So anyone suffering from PTSD, I mean, it's good stuff.
Go check it out.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of fellow stand-up comedians, I mean, you were talking
suffering
about...
from PTSD.
No.
From bombing so hard. I get it. I get it.
No, but they reached out to you. You talked about so many people reaching out to you. They've given you praise. Does it mean something more when it comes from fellow comedians in your world?
Sure. I respect these comics so much, and that they took the time to read the book and give it kind words was great. But the greatest praise I got was from my mom. I gave her the book, and before I turned it into the publisher, and she read it in an afternoon, and she said, I felt like I hung out with Lydia for the afternoon. And that was just like, I did it right. I know I did it right if my mom said that.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
You talk about mental illness in the book because she committed suicide. Do you think there's any advice out there that you want to give today for someone who has a loved one suffering with mental illness, or maybe themselves?
There's two pieces of advice. Do more. Just do more. And the other piece of advice is it's okay to be exhausted and exasperated by the person you're trying to help. Mental illness and depression, is very selfish, and there's not a lot of "how are you doing" coming out of the person who's depressed. And it's okay to realize that this can be exasperating. Go out and complain about the person you're trying to help with other friends, and then go back to helping that person. I feel like there's this tendency to make it just like to martyr the person who's suffering from depression. It's okay to be exasperated with them. Just deal with it, get back on the horse, and try to help them. It's all normal. We don't, we don't have to make it a saintly experience.
No, that's true, and we need more people like you to take that step forward to say, hey, it is normal. A lot of people are suffering, and we're here to help you or get help, right?
100%. And if you're doing well, help others out. If you're not doing well, seek help. It's kind of that simple.
That is simple, and thank you so much for coming on the show. The book is beautiful. I'm going to encourage everyone to go pick it up. Adam will be at the Tattered Cover bookstore on Colfax next Tuesday, August 21st at 7 p.m. for a book signing of Tragedy Plus Time and a conversation with University of Colorado Denver instructor Drew Bixby. Now, this is a ticketed event, so please, I encourage you to go to tatteredcover.com/events. Purchase tickets right now. You can also watch Adam on the hilarious Those Who Can't on True TV, or go watch him live next week, August 23rd through the 25th at High Plains Comedy Festival right here in Denver. Reach out and meet him. He's a great guy, and you will really love that book.